was just like, oh, you all think I can't do this. I'm going to do it. So I should thank them, because there's nothing like being told you can't.
So they lit that fire.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
there were other factors. Like I was like, oh, what about my sports? What about my education?
Yeah.
But to be fair, during the whole pregnancy, it was just like, what about proving them wrong? Like,
oh, okay. Yeah.
Like, I'm going to do this then. And we have. But it was, I don't remember being overly emotional about it. I don't recall ever thinking, oh, I can never do that now. I wanted to study law. That just didn't bother me. And then when she was born, like, nothing mattered. Nothing mattered. I was just like, this is it. Like, this is it.
So whereabouts in New Zealand are you from?
So I was born in Hawke's Bay. Yeah, my whole family kind of lived in the same little suburb between Hastings and Napier. I grew up in Whakatu, which was like orchards, freezing works, the meatworks. Timona Meatworks was really big back in the day there. And then my mum moved up to Auckland, met my stepdad, and we lived up there, I feel like, for a solid 7-8 years. Moved to the Coromandel because my dad got a contract, and then mum and dad split, so he moved back to Auckland, and mum took us back to Hawke's Bay and met my second stepdad, who they're my fathers, they're my dads. And then I lived in Hawke's Bay right up until I was 25 and moved here.
Oh wow, so you moved straight from the country.
Yeah, I just was like, see, I'm out. We actually came to the Gold Coast for a holiday, and I just remember, it's going to sound so corny, but we stayed in the Watermark, and I remember opening the curtains that first morning, and you could see right out to the horizon, and I was just like, this place is limitless.
Yeah.
I'd never felt that. I'd always felt like small town girl, small town things, very no dream, And then something about that view just sparked something. Then we went back home, and I had to drive to get my car, and I just started crying. And I was just like, this is not it.
Not where I want to be.
Not where I want to be. I was living in the house my mum, and her mum all raised their children in. My husband was in the meatworks, and, like everything was just same.
Yeah.
And back then I didn't know about cycle breaking and generational trauma and all those things. So I was just like, something's off, like right in deep down in myself, something's off. And I just said to my husband, oh, I'm going to move. We're moving. And he was like, nah, you're just being stupid. And then 2 weeks later, he got told that like work was quieting down. And he was like, is that us? Are we off? And I was like, we're off. Like, burst in my family pretty much to leave.
Wow.
Taking the 2 eldest grandchildren away, like a big deal.
So you guys have been here forever. When did you move over?
Yeah, we've been here 17 years now. We came end of 2007. We came. So, 17 years. Yeah, no regrets, though. I think, actually, that's not fair. One regret is not going home enough.
Yeah.
Because you get here and you go, oh, well, but I can just go to Bali, or I can just go here. Yeah. So, probably that's the only regret, is not going home enough. But, we moved to Ormo, and that's been it. Yeah.
We'll come back to the family aspect of it. One of the things that has been something that I've sort of caught about you is your capacity to have a vision. Because what probably, and I'm just assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of people would associate you with probably some of your more recent ventures, such as Native HQ and being the founder of that. And so one of the things that really has captured me about you is this ability to vision things. Can you talk us through Native HQ, how that has come about and where that comes from? Like, in terms of full circle, being from the country, small towns, journeying into this, to the point where you are now.
Yeah. So Native really came out of the fact that we had friends in creative spaces, and I was watching them and I was in awe of them, but they were hiring, and not to come across racist or anything, but they were hiring outsiders to do their mahi. And I thought, man, but we've got the skill set. We have photographers, we have makeup artists, we can do this. Why are we paying outside of our culture for this? So I proposed it to a close group of friends who had followings, were creatives, and they were like, yeah, give it a shot. Yeah. For me, I was raised, how do I say it? In my younger days, I was raised in quite a white culture, not even a white culture, just like, I just thought everybody were New Zealanders.
Yeah.
If that makes it, like growing up in Auckland, like it's so multicultural that your bros are just your bros. Like no one was like, oh, she's Chinese and she's Māori. And I remember moving back to Hastings and someone was like, oh, you have to join Kapahaga because you're Māori. And I started crying. I was like, what do you mean I'm Māori? Like, what is that? Like,
Oh, wow.
yeah. And it's
Wow.
not that I didn't know. Like, I'd been to the marae and like,
Wow.
I knew that I was brown, but like it just kind of hit me.
Just a point of difference that sort of hit you
It
differently.
hit me from a young age. And
Wow.
then
Wow.
I think that stuck with me. And then I had times at high school where I was like, oh, we picked the whitest Māori to do like manu kōrero. Like, what is that about? Like, damn, we're really, there were some of us who are more into our culture, you know, and that's nothing on them. They're great speakers and, you know, intelligent people. It just sat in my head. And then like, I guess growing up, you know, we had a little bit of NRL back home, but we would only hear about like Tawaraniko or, you know, like, and I was like, man, brown people are like great. Like it was just always a thing growing in me. And so when I started seeing creators that I knew not valuing their peers within our culture, I thought, man, someone's got to navigate this space and tell you that like collaborative work, like it takes a village, right? Or if anyone who's Polynesian, every Pacific culture, it takes a village. Like, why are we not doing this? And so that's really where that stemmed from. And my passion for brown people, you know, like I look at like the best singers, the best sports people, the best storytellers. You know, we had people in cinematography and videography and all those things who are amazing, you know. And I was just like, man, we need to get together. We need to do this.
Yeah.
And that's really where my passion came from. And then as our clientele grew and people were coming through, I was like, wow, this is bigger than I even thought. Like Polynesian excellence, Māori excellence is like massive. Indigenous excellence is like, no one's talking about this unless we're on a footy field or singing.
And that's what I loved about what you were doing. It was taking the tokenism out of something that should have been mainstream a long time ago.
Yeah.
And putting us front and center, no longer the jokers or the funny men and women of you know, like the haha.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you were daring to ask questions of these different areas that maybe a lot of us don't really.
Like I truly believe, you know, like we've been the monkeys in the circus too long. Like
I was going to say that, but I wasn't too sure.
You know, like, you know, that's how we are. We're like the monkeys or the clowns of the circus. We're the ringleaders. You took all the colour again out of the NRL. Boring. I don't watch it. We'd be playing soccer. You know, like we have a
touching on that. I'm just going to pretend I didn't hear that. And we didn't lose to the Sharks. We simply ran out of time. Okay. I'm going to come back to this with your Roosters. But no, touching on that, the jokesters, you know, the funny monkeys, you know, that sort of stuff that goes on. It's funny you touched on that because it makes like real sense because I watched, there's a movie that came out. I'm not going to give it a name, but
I know which one.
But it was based on a doco that on these athletes, they couldn't, and they had a losing culture, right? And that was the doco, and they were building to try at least get a win, right? And these were athletes. But then the movie came out, and all of a sudden, I saw like the first maybe 10 minutes, and we were made to look like funny monkeys. They had no sense. And straight away, all I could think was, I don't want to watch this anymore.
I was flipping disappointed. I know which movie you're talking about. But
I didn't want to watch it because I thought that sort of humor and that sort of thing, like back in the 90s, maybe you can get away with that because, you know, days of like flippant, you know, sort of laugh and you know, do that. But it's tired.
It is.
It's tired. And I'm glad that you touched on that because it makes absolute sense that instead of celebrating the more than just the funny monkeys or maybe just take away the funny monkeys, but just celebrating just the jokesters and the singing and the rugby, there's so much more.
Yeah, 100%.
There is so much more, but they tend to touch on it. And what really bit wasn't anyone else that was culturally outside of that, put that movie together. It was someone that we recognize as culturally within.
Yeah. That's it's just been tolerated for so long, you know, like, and I get it. I love a good laugh. You know, I was of the Billy T. James generation.
Oh, he was fun.
So funny.
Yeah, I still laugh.
You know, I still find a lot of our content creators funny, but I think it's been referred to as like lateral racism, where you pick on your own. And I know that we have like good banter. Like no one banters like Polly's, man. We're so funny. And I think, you know, that's why a lot of us have thick skin, right? Because we grow up with cousins and brothers who just like, no one can bully you more than your own family. But on a larger scale as a society, we also do that. You know, we pick on our own. Tall poppy, I guess. You know, tall poppy syndrome is is shocking.
And that's quite prevalent in New Zealand. I found the culture in New Zealand.
It really is.
Like, that's probably one of the endearing facts of Australia is when I moved here, no one was sort of wanting me to succeed with a caveat to making sure that you don't succeed more than they did.
That's it.